Hello and welcome back to the Morning Skate Podcast. I am your host, DJ Mitchell, here with Matt Moody to cover the biggest slate in months, the $300,000 100K to first Spin-O-Rama. Matt, how are you doing? How was your weekend? I know you weren't at Cooter Conference, but how was your Cooter Conference weekend?
Oh, it was horrific. I think I would have rather been ice fishing than what happened this weekend between uh, DFS betting, complete colossal shit show. Football was a disaster, and the Bills managed to lose in yet another heartbreaking fashion. So, not a good weekend. Not a good weekend. And yes, I would have rather been sitting inside of a tent, cutting a hole through a green pond or whatever the fuck you were doing, and
Big
yeah,
Lake.
freezing my ass off because then I would have just been too drunk to do anything, and that would have been far better than what transpired.
Well, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, it was fun. We had some beers, we had some mixed drinks. We did ice fish, we caught nothing. It was like a well-planned in theory weekend with like no emphasis on like how to successfully ice fish. So we did not successfully ice fish, but we did ice fish. The
Could you even
area
confirm there were fish in the lake?
There were people that were posting, I guess, in this like group chat that my cousin followed that said they caught their maximum amount of 50 fish that day. So we clearly
Oh,
did not know where to go. So, and I think that makes like
50.
tangible sense because the fish go to the deepest parts of the lake and it's
Yeah.
not a man-made lake. So like there's certain sections of the lake that are way deeper than others. And we were out there and I was like, I don't think we're at the deepest part because I pulled up a map on my phone. And I went to Devin and my cousin. I was like, do you have any like thought of where we are in the lake? He's like, no, we just like went to like the middle-ish. And I'm like, huh. I'm like, okay, so yeah, I did like the math and I'm like, I think we're only about maybe 18 feet deep here and it goes to 55. So
Wow.
like that's bad. So yeah, I think we just like didn't plan that part of it very well. But we head back. Very good area to skate. So me and some of the guys put on our skates. I brought some sticks. It was a great time. Played a bunch of euchre. Good to get that going again. It was one of those things where people are like, "Oh, I barely remember how to play this." You start playing euchre, ever remembers how to play euchre. So, good man's weekend. Yeah, no real complaint. We did all bet the Jack Hughes goal with the goal boost, overtime winner. People were having fun. We were all having a good time.
Ridiculous. I'm still so tilted about that. Um,
Well, suck, I
Zero
suppose.
shots. Zero shots into overtime. And I think who did I bet that day? I bet someone who's both his line mates scored. A Kaprizov. Both of Kaprizov's line mates scored.
Oh yeah.
And he didn't.
I,
So
I, I, dude, I was 100% on board with that pick. It just the line moved on me.
yeah.
Minus
Yep.
105 couldn't do it. Like we were waiting around because we were out there ice fishing, and I didn't have great service in the middle of the lake. Surprisingly enough, it was no joke. Like we drilled some holes, and there's a thing to measure it. It was 11 inches of ice.
Oh my
And
god.
a couple of the holes we dug, yeah. The least we found was like 8.5, like 8 to almost 9. It was just about 9. Just insanely cold it's been up here, and like this, like look up Oneida Lake, it's freaking huge. So yeah, a lot of fun. Good to kill some time before we start the podcast. I'm sure everyone's loving this riveting tales. Plenty of stories, but you know what, we'll save the fishing stories for maybe next show when it's not 100K to
I
first
think
up top.
yeah, I think the Cooter cast is in order.
The cute cast is in order, correct?
And shout out to the people who tag DJ in Discord looking for pics of his Cooter. Just normal everyday
Yeah.
stuff in the MSP Discord. So
Yeah,
kudos to you all for being engaged.
shout out to everybody that got involved in Cooter Fest. You were missed at the conference.
Um, all right, yeah, we do have a colossal slate on hand. Obviously, there have been satellites in the lobby for weeks now. So I honestly think DraftKings dramatically undersized this contest. We are recording this at 9:15 Eastern, and the contest is well over half full. I mean, just
Normal.
like this thing's probably going to fill by 3 p.m. tomorrow, and yeah, so a little frustrating. But at the end of the day, what are you going to do? Because we have
Shocking.
Yeah, we have a 2-week break coming up for the stupid Four Nations thing, and then about 3 weeks after we return to play, there's another 555 that hopefully will be bigger than 100K to first. But we've got another giant contest coming in just about a month in league, league time, if you
Listen,
will.
I'm excited for the Frozen face off, Four Nation face off. I
That's
like.
great.
I'm not gonna go, of course, even though it's in like Boston. I could probably figure it out because like it's February, but like I can't wait to watch. I mean, like I got the USA on today. I wore it for a reason. We're almost to the Frozen Four Nation, the big face off. In other news, I did make the cover boys, Mikko Rantanen and Marty Nachos. Any thoughts or anything on the trade, or just get into like what it means in fantasy once we get into what it means in fantasy because they're both on the slate.
Yeah, it's hard to really say too much about it because everyone and their mother's talking about it, and what are our opinions? Like, what do they really matter? Like, I mean, one hell of a swing by Carolina. They get burned by the Gensel thing, and they're like, we're going right back to the well. So, kind of hope that they're able to land him, just because it would be nice to actually have some finishing talent on that team. But we'll see what happens. I am excited for the rest of the year. I do have to say, though, the first 2 games with Marty Nachos have been a whole lot of fun. I don't know what about the handedness, whatever, but there's something pleasing to me about, 3 righties running a power play. When, Nachos, McKinnon, Makar are like the 3 puck touchers. It's just a lot of fun. Kind of reminds me of the peak, when Zibanejad was good, how the Rangers used to look, with that function. So interesting to see how that chemistry, continues to evolve. We'll talk a bit more about some of the trends and the quotes and whatever from the early days of that trade. But I think for now, yeah, I mean, what did you think about it? You were probably 7 beers deep when I called but what do you think?
I mean, yeah, no, I wasn't really even that deep into the weeds yet. We were getting there, but no, I mean, I saw it right away. I like, my watch buzzed like 3 times because I have a lot of beat reporters on like all tweets, so I always don't. I never miss anything. Yeah, shocking was the word, but like my original thought was, man, Carolina, I feel like they kind of cooked here. Like, Marty Necas didn't want to sign long term. It kind of felt like he was on his way out. And then the more you thought about it, you're like, well, Colorado was kind of in the same boat. And like, I know I would rather get a nice piece back for Mikko Rantanen than potentially nothing if that was never going to get to the finish line. I also find it like loser mentality to be like, yeah, sorry, Mikko, we could probably figure this out, but we're just not going to pay you more than McKinnon because we're not. And other teams, make things work and they keep their talent because they can. I don't think Mikko wanted to leave Colorado, so it could have probably happened. I guess overall, it's like, yeah, do I think Carolina probably wins the deal? Probably. I think they're better off, and you might as well go for the cup. But they gotta sign him. I mean, if they don't sign him, they just really gave up a really nice young asset in Marty Necas, who I think is a sensationally good hockey player. They have to re-sign Mikko Rantanen. It just has to happen. So I almost thought they had, or maybe like there was word of what the offer on the table was or something. So I don't know. I think they get it done though.
Yeah, I think that's right. I saw some of the quotes. Oh, Rantanen, like I would have taken less. I don't know. I don't really think I'd buy that. I don't know. I guess to me, Colorado's earned the benefit of the doubt. Where like if they felt that it wasn't happening, like that they were just gonna move on. Like I don't know that Mikko Rantanen was sitting there saying, "Yeah, I'm happy to take 11 million," and they were like, "No, you need to take 9." Like I think they were, like maybe that is loser mentality to offer that amount, but also, you set your number. There's a very real argument. I don't buy it, but like Mikko Rantanen has some awful defensive metrics. And like it's possible that they see guys like Val Nichushkin and Arturi Lehkonen who are like far better defensive players. And they're like, we have Makar, we have McKinnon. Why are we going to give you 14 million when you are basically a Leon Draisaitl? Like, not this year, Leon Draisaitl. That's a completely different story. But, in the past, Leon's stats have been like, yeah, he's an expert finisher. He's not really driving play, and he's a kind of a liability defensively. Like, I still think there's something more to that, and I think a little bit of, quality of teammates and stuff might penalize Rantanen a bit when it comes to that. But, I'm no expert. I do think that it's very possible that they saw their internal valuation and they said, hey, we can get a piece in Nachas who obviously, took a huge step forward this year playing with Eric Robinson. Like, he's had an awesome year with that considered. And they actually pick up Jack Drury, who I was a little bit surprised to see that, like, not many people had a ton of time for. But I thought he was playing really well this year for Carolina. Obviously in an unlimited role, but when he did get the promotion, I thought he was like nails defensively. Like, he just looks like he's in position. Every time I see him play. And so that team desperately needs depth. Like, they're so injured and they just have none to start with that, like, yeah, it's not a huge swing, but like when you're talking, you get some draft capital, you can parlay at the deadline, and you get Nachos, and you get Jack Drury. Like, I don't think it makes them as bad this year as maybe as maybe some might be saying, but I don't know. I've only listened to like 47 people talk about this trade.
I know. And like I would say the overall sentiment is like Carolina wins the deal because this, that, the other thing. But in reality, nothing matters if they, number one, don't re-sign Rantanen, obviously disaster, but like they also have to win the cup. I mean, this is we're winning the cup. We need to win right now. This is our window. Our window's open, and like they better get a cup to show for it, or who cares if they re-sign him or not? Like, it's all about winning a Stanley Cup. So yeah, I think the deal made sense from both sides, like you're saying, but I think Carolina is in a chance to win it. And are they in a chance to win tomorrow? And why don't we get into the implications of the trade as far as it's concerned to the biggest DraftKings slate of the year? But unfortunately, we have to start in Buffalo, where I will be at the game. If you're ready, I'm going to any other housekeeping notes.
Yes. Chris wants us to get to the DFS discussion. That's clearly what hee-haw means, because those are the sounds we make when we talk about this upcoming slate. Sean, glad you tailed DJ on the Holloway point. Congrats. Yes, the Sabres, the Buffalo Sabres. DJ, you're telling me, I did not share my screen. You're telling me that you are going to be in attendance at the Buffalo Sabres game?
Correct. Work related. But yes, I will not be paying any money. I'm getting brought to the game more or less, which is nice. Well, but yeah, we planned this a while ago.
What if I told you Buffalo looks incredible? What if I told you that?
I would be sad.
They put up 4.9 expected goals against the Edmonton Oilers on Saturday, and they lost because that's what they do.
Of course.
They lose. 4.9. I said Jeff Skinner. Stuart Skinner was literally just rolling around on the ice, making save after save after save. It was unbelievable. I mean, the Sabres looked so good after his sleepy start, like first 10 minutes. And I guarantee they roll into this one. Boston looking terrible. Jeremy Swayman, yes, has papered over a lot of those flaws. Sabres are going to get shut out. 37 save shutout. Your work colleagues are going to be all pissy, and you're going to be like, I need a beer so goddamn bad, but because you're on the clock, you're going to be like, well, I can't do it, and then you're just going to be sad all night. So I got to say, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm very intrigued by the Boston side of this because they've not looked good offensively for the last several months, and now all of a sudden, like, they don't look good, but they certainly look okay. And looking okay is a whole hell of a lot better than they have been. And obviously the Sabres are not a fearsome matchup, to speak of. So what are your thoughts about the Boston Bruins in this matchup? We're looking at Zacha, Geeky, Pasta, Marchand, Potois, Coyle, and Frederick Lindholm Lettieri. Oliver Wahlstrom did not travel due to illness. McAvoy, Hampus Lindholm practice, but will not play. So we are projecting Zadorov, Peak, Michael Callahan, Brandon Carlo, Mason Lowright, and Parker Wotherspoon. And no, I did not make 3 of those names up.
I mean, I understand the Boston play. I just don't even think it's a second thought. Like, it's just Pastrnak. There's just nothing about the makeup of this lineup that I can't even envision playing anything else on Boston outside of Pastrnak. With, you could throw Lowry in. I think he's fine at 3,500 if you're playing Pastrnak, Zacha, Geeky, or just Pastrnak, Zacha. I mean, Geeky's been good. 5K to actually like click the button on Morgan Geeky at 5K is just a painful endeavor, but his finishing ability is good enough that you can squint and say, people click on Victor Olofsson when he's not in the top power play at 5K. So like whatever. I just don't think I'm going there. Like I truly worry about. I just think this game is going to be boring. Boston is trying to play boring. The Sabres can't finish. It's Swayman's in net, 5.5 total, probably about right. I was kind of shocked to see it was minus 105 Buffalo. Like it wasn't worse, but I guess that's really a testament to just how bad the Sabres are, that they're like almost a dead pick 'em against another team, even though they're like the worst team in the world, at least in my purview. I just feel like the thing is that like I don't think people are going to play it. Like I think people will look at Buffalo. I don't think people are going to look at Boston all that closely. But Pasternak's always in play.
Yeah, I think Pasta might be one of my favorite plays on the slate, and I'm hoping that 5.5 total keeps teams away or keeps DFSers away. Here's the Sabres' run of form the last 2 weeks. They gave up 6 to the Kraken. They gave up 2 to the Hurricanes in that incredible win where they had 0 shots and a goal in the third period. They gave up 5 to the Penguins, including a goalie goal. They gave up 6 to the Kraken, again, twice in 9 days. They gave up 6 to the freaking Seattle Kraken. They gave up 2 to the Canucks in a pretty good win. And they gave up 5 to the Flames, and they lost 3-2 to the Oilers. So, like, they are not getting any goaltending right now. I worry a little bit about ownership on Pasta. But you look around the slate. I mean, we have Tampa in the nuts matchup. We have Winnipeg in a pretty winnable matchup for them. Of course, we have the McKinnon Donkeys in full force, and we have and we have Ovi, which against the Flames team. So like, actually, Eichel. Like, there's a lot of ways to spend up on this slate, and I'm not sure that the field gets to Pasta in a 5.5 on the road. So I'm pretty intrigued. Color me at least curious about Pasta. As I showed earlier with the rainbow chart, like that's pointing pretty clearly to this game having a lot more flurry of action than maybe some of the other games on the slate. And maybe the goals don't come with it. But if you're telling me, 7 shots and a goal gets it done, I would take that for Pasta for sure. So we'll see what the rest looks like. Lindholm, Zaka, Marchand. It'll kind of is aggressively meh to me. But let's keep going through the Buffalo side. Tage playing with Peterka and Kulik. Zucker, Cousins, Tuck, Benson, McLeod, Jack Quinn. They put Albie Kubel on waivers, so Lafferty, Malenstein, and Krebs. Defensively, the same: Byram, Dahlin, Power, Samuelson, and some rotation on the third pair. But some of these Sabres also look pretty good. Tage has been firing as of late. Kulik has looked incredible too. He's on a different power play from them, but I believe he was the 6th attacker when they needed a guy. So, a little bit of extra correlation there with Tage. And then obviously Peterka is fine, but it's been curious to see Peterka sort of morph into a bit more of a playmaker with Tage and Kulik. I'm pretty interested in that top line, but what are your thoughts on the Sabres other than sadness?
I mean, if you look at the last 10 games for all teams, not even just this slate, number 1 I Corsi for per game is Tage Thompson at 8.6 attempts. Number 2 is David Pastrnak with 8.1 attempts. So I do think those are like the clear focal points that you would have, and they make perfect sense in any stack. I still think Kulik is playable at 4,100 with Thompson and Peterka. Like if Tage is truly getting there, I think that he could very easily come along for the ride. Like you said, like he's a dynamic player that they're recognizing as a goal scorer. And I think that it's, of course, when I bet him for shots, he has 1. And when I don't bet him, he has 7 against Edmonton. But what are you going to do? But again, like that's in his range of outcomes. Like that's the type of player he is. So it's a top line for me or bust, I think. I just don't want to pay up for Cousins or Tuck when they're not on the top power play. And I love McLeod. I get why you could take a look at McLeod and Benson, but in reality, I feel like you're just trying to thread an eagle that doesn't need to be thread on this slate. So I like the top line. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's also for me where it ends. Dahlin is interesting. we'll have to compare him to some other top end D options on the slate, but he's looking favorable to guys like Kale McCarr for a little bit less salary wise, and of course correlates to a spot that I think we like. With the top line and top power play for the Sabres at the very least. Let's get over to Winnipeg and Montreal. By the way, this is an 8-game slate, so we've done a lot of podcasts on 10, 12, even a 13 has been mixed in there from time to time. The slate's a little bit smaller, so do expect the ownership to centralize a little bit more than these larger slates we've done podcasts for, and thus be slightly more careful with how you're building and where you're differentiating from the field. But anyway, Winnipeg and Montreal. I regret to inform you, DJ was completely right. Montreal's cratered. Their defensive numbers have taken a huge hit. Who could have seen it? DJ, the projection genius here. Though, to give them some credit, their offense still looks pretty solid on the Montreal front. So there's certainly some argument that this is a high event, high pace, high scoring game. And I think I see it a little bit more clearly than I do the Sabres Boston game. So DJ, thoughts on this matchup here?
I think there's a couple things. Number one, thank you for saying I was right. I mean, it's very brave of you to admit. Number two, this game, like I feel like this is one of my hardest reads because I really want to just play Winnipeg 1 and maybe capitalize on some of this, like get to it before maybe people realize that maybe Montreal isn't the world beaters that everyone decided they were.
It's a
5.5 total. Yeah.
Without Adam Lowry.
I wonder about like to me, it's like, I don't think it should be, but also like what, Winnipeg just relies so much on efficiency. And is Montreal that bad? It's just like I feel like I've just been very hesitant to play Winnipeg.
The answer is no, because Montreal is a plus 130 home underdog. Like that is not very significant. If you're saying, yes, they're at home, but Winnipeg's one of the best teams in the West, and Montreal is barely hanging on to the playoff picture in the East. Like, and you're saying this is a basic, it's not a pick 'em. It's minus 155 for Winnipeg, but it's fairly close. I think closer than one might expect. So like this seems like a pretty decent amount of respect being given to Montreal defensively. But this to me almost speaks to more of a bet on the game environment itself because like
that's
without
I think that's my issue. Yeah. Like how do I play both sides of this coin? And it is doable because I feel like that's how I want to play it. Like I don't just want to sit here and just say, oh, 4-man Winnipeg, moving on. Like, let me find something cheap now. Like, can I run it back on the other side? You can. We could get to that. I don't think it's going to be too much of a surprise that Mr. Lane Hudson could be involved in that kind of a conversation. Like, you can do it, but like I do feel like, again, like you're saying, you're kind of betting on this game getting out of control. Hellebuck, not making the saves that we expect him to make, and then finally getting a game out of Kyle Connor. Where like the issue that I keep having with clicking on 8,200 Kyle Connor is he hasn't hit a shot bonus in like I don't know, a month plus. Like, where's the Kyle Connor we used to know? I miss the old Kyle Connor, not the 63 point and 51 game Kyle Connor. No, I want the the 50 point with 195 shots a game guy. I don't like this assist guy. What are you doing passing the puck, Kyle Connor? You know what I mean?
Well, Mark Scheifele's really mean to him if he's not passing. So, that's
I do think like you play Winnipeg 1, you play revenge narrative. Actually, Line is more expensive than Cole Caulfield. What a world we live in.
I think that's right.
I don't. It's not even that it's wrong. Revenge narrative, Line Cole Hudson, Lane Hudson. You could build a lineup like this. This is a lineup that could work.
We're gonna do we're gonna do this for the next 15 years. Can we just trade Lane Hudson for Cole Hudson and just drop it? Because Cole Caulfield and Lane Hudson cannot be on the same team in the league where Lane Hudson. Did I just screw that up? I think I just screwed that up. Where Cole Hudson is on a different NHL team.
He's on Washington. I'm almost positive.
Yeah. Yes, he is.
The rich get rich.
Can we just trade them? Like, I can't do this. Yeah. I'm going to do the exact same thing you just did and say Cole Hudson the entire time for the next 15 years. Anyway,
a rare DJ miss on a name.
Yeah. For the goalie watchers, Comrie got their most recent start, so I think it's full steam ahead on the Connor Hellebuck train, which of course is a big detriment to the 5.5 total that I was talking about just a bit ago. But yeah, I think we're okay to play the top line at 20.5K. Ehlers is up to 7,200. That full line is only 15K, so like, yeah, you might be able to get away with it. But the reason I think the defensive numbers could be, I think Winnipeg could struggle defensively without Adam Lowry. We'll need to look in a bit more to how these lines have been playing in a small sample, but they are reliant on Connor Hellebuck. We know this, and we've seen Connor Hellebuck fall apart before. And this is going to be a 1,000 entry contest where the winner gets 33% of the prize pool, then turns, $360 into $100,000. So like living on the edge of dangerousness is going to be handsomely rewarded if you are right. And so I think taking some stabs on the Montreal side could be in order without sort of their defensive ace in Adam Lowry to play. On the Montreal side, we have Caulfield, Suzuki, Slavkovsky. If you're curious, that line is fully power play one correlated. It's 16.7K. Newhook, Doc, and Line, Gallagher, Dvorak, Anderson. And we get the season debut of Raphael Harvey-Pinard with Evans and Armia. There were some maintenance days, like Josh Anderson was a maintenance day. I'm pretty sure Harvey-Pinard, though, is just in. He was an old friend, I think, a couple years ago, playing on that top line, and just disappeared because he's actually bad. But he's back for whatever reason. I think he has like 11 points in 24 AHL games. But hey, it was enough to earn a roster spot over Michael Pezzetta. So congrats to him. But what are you doing with 3,400 Lane Hudson, who is putting up stellar numbers? He's actually shooting. He's actually getting, block shots. Not a ton. We talked about this last week, but enough for now 3,400. Like, that seems to me like a pretty decent play. So what are your thoughts on Hudson?
I mean, yeah, it kind of feels like they priced down almost everybody, including good players. We'll get to a couple more like that. I was like, why did they price this guy down so much? And like, it's not even that. Lane Hudson has 2 games in a row without a point, and okay, he had 6 blocks last game. They dropped him a full 1,000, 4,400 the last slate. He has 3,400 this slate. The minutes are there. The shot volume is always a concern. Like, oh, I just hit my light and turned it off. But I don't know, man. The guy is one of, if not the like best prospects in hockey for fantasy goodness. Like, this was the Quinn Hughes situation, but like, when do we bite, right? And like, it kind of feels like it's starting to come together pretty fast. It's not like this, Quinn Hughes. It's not that it took a long time for him to look amazing. It took him a long time to be an incredibly DFS relevant player. And at 3,400, I mean, I'm just all the way in, and even more so, like you're saying, people are afraid to bet against Winnipeg in DFS. They're afraid to bet against Connor Hellebuck for sure in DFS, and he could get there without all that much. He gets a blocks bonus and an assist, and you're fine. 3,400? Are you kidding me? And he has the upside of, I don't know, 25. I mean, like, he's at 26 before. I don't know. I think he has that in him for sure. His range of outcomes, and like, it's only getting more likely it's going to happen.
Yeah, and since we have people who might be tuning in for a rare occasion, I try not to double dip on touting things in my newsletter, but let's see. I'm trying to go through to find the Hudson Matheson pairing. Open it up, send it over.
I like it. I really do like this game a lot. Yeah.
This is the hockey game with Hudson and Matheson on the ice. Like, it is all offense all the time. And when you're as talented as Lane Hudson is, like, that is absolutely a spot to target. Obviously he also gets power play time, like, to go with it. He's going to mostly play with the top line, but you see here, like, over the past, there's 370 minutes. This is a bit outdated, so it's probably closer to 400 now. A little bit less than half of that 5-on-5 time is with the top line. So, take that for what it's worth. I think it's okay though to play Doc and Line, for example, with Lane Hudson.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to double stack Hudson and Matheson. Matheson's cooled off a little bit, but he was up about 5 shot attempts a game. Maybe even right now. I'm not looking at it, but it's certainly a spot where I don't think the field will be all in. I do think Hudson will be pretty owned, but again, like you're not playing Lane Hudson for the one-off, like, oh, he's gonna get a double bonus for me. You're playing him because he's a cheap way to get guys. If this team scores goals, Lane Hudson is gonna crush his salary, so why not just take the goal scorers via the top line or the line A line? And I like Doc and line A specifically. But New Hook is also interesting. You see, he's been a little bit better last 10 than Doc. So a little bit cheaper, I think equally fun. So yeah, 2 really interesting games right off the bat. And then
I know. I mean,
we get the monster chalk. Welcome to the slate. Tampa Bay. What do we make of this Tampa team right now? Because I'm not sure if you were paying attention this weekend, but they've been rolling this weird setup, and they went 11-7 on Saturday. They lost 2-0 to the freaking Red Wings. Like, does this shit stick? Like, does Kucherov playing every minute of every game for every line? Like, does that stick? He played 27 minutes against Detroit. Like, because if so, Kucherov is a smash. If it's, hey, we're going to play you in a normal shift with Kucherov, Point, and Gensel, well, now we're back to that line costing $25,000, and you're going to need a 3-point night from all 3 of these guys to pay off. So, like, what are we doing with Tampa in this spot?
I mean, I'm going to fade entirely. I would say one off Kucherov or I'm fading, but I don't think I'm going to find the cap to get Kucherov in there. I'm not clicking 8,300 Braden Point. I understand why you do it, of course, because like he can obviously score goals in limited shot quantity, but at 8,300, like you're saying, I mean, he needs to have 3 points, and that's I just don't really trust Braden Point to do that, to be honest. So I think it's one off Kucherov. I understand why you would click on Hagel with Kucherov. I think he is pretty gifted, but again, you're kind of buying the ceiling on him too a bit at 7,400. Gensel 70. Like, this whole thing is just so freaking expensive, and people are going to find a way to do it. So just keep in mind when you're looking at these extreme punts like Lane Hudson and Mason Lohrei and others we'll get to later, like they're going to be involved a little bit more just because the people are going to want to play this. Chicago is horrendous, but can they just keep this slate from getting out of hand? I think so, and like the way this mess kind of continues to become a mess, it's like you might get a game where Kucherov does get that 3 points, but maybe Point and Gensel have 1. Maybe Hagel has 1. Cirelli has 1. And then maybe he has a goal randomly with like freaking Mitchell Chafee assisted from Darren Radish. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, Kucherov kind of might be in the winner, but like he might not be anymore because it didn't end up coming together with any of these super expensive pieces. And if you get another stack in that mix, like I think it's one off or nothing, but I'll let you talk. Enough out of me.
I mean, I like your line of thinking. There's several paths to Tampa winning this game and it just not really mattering for fantasy, given the pricing. So to me, that's like my first thought is like, how do I fade this game? And maybe it doesn't work, but one way I think you can fade this game is if they go back to a 12-6 setup. They played 11-7, like I said. Eric Chernak back in the lineup. They said, well, we don't want to really screw things up. So I think it was, what's his name? Maxwell Crozier, maybe, or something like that, was playing. And Lilleberg was playing. Well, Lilleberg decided he wanted to go headhunting and injured JT Compher. And JT Compher, Lilleberg got suspended, meaning they sent down Crozier a right shot and called up Carlisle a left shot, Declan Carlisle. So if there's a 12-6 setup and Declan Carlisle and Nick Perbix is the second pair, I think you might be able to do the same sort of thing I was talking about with Montreal and just say, I'm just going to stack Hedman and Radish and just say, there's going to be a double bonus for one of these guys. Another guy gets a point or two. And maybe, Kucherov gets there, but for 9K, Pasta or Kyle Connor or, some other expensive had to have it score takes place. And you're knocking out 2 defensive scores, and you just don't need any of these high priced Tampa forwards because their production is a bit more spread out between 2 lines than this top pair of Hedman and Radish. So that's one way I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure what I'll actually wind up doing. But that is a very, I think, worthy news item to keep an eye on because the 11-7 setup versus the 12-6 doesn't really, or it should impact things, I think, from a projection standpoint. And obviously the projection systems aren't going to adapt for it, I don't think, at least depending on when we get that news. So on the Chicago side, I don't believe we saw lines. They called up Landon Slaggert. So my guess is he draws in. I don't know why they would call him up just to sit him. But we didn't see any practice or anything. So we're thinking it's Nazar, Bedard, Bertuzzi, Teravainen, Dickinson, Mikheyev, Doc, Reichel, Foligno, Maroon, Donato, Kurashev. But again, that could definitely change. Seth Jones is interesting. He's 4,500 coming off a double bonus. And he scored against Minnesota. So 4,500 for Seth Jones is actually really cheap. Can't really say that 5K for Burt or 6K for Bedard are great values.
He Giga Smash dropped 700. I don't know why. And Giga Smash 2 slates ago. He's down 1,000 from that. It's like, what? Oh, you mean the slate where he had 3 points? Yeah, got to drop him a couple hundred. Oh, okay. Then he has, four, almost a 15-point game. Oh, okay. Drop him a little bit more. 27, lower. Like, he's doing good. Like, he's clearly always been involved. He's always been a big catalyst for this team. When they're having success, he seems to be involved in the play as well as Bedard. And it's like, I see, again, if you're being brave and you're being bold, and you want to bet on, the Bedard, Seth Jones situation, all the power to you. Like, Tampa, I think, is potentially a little bit exploitable in some capacity, but that might be just going a little bit too far off the reservation. And you might just end up landing on a lineup that is just not going to get there. But I don't hate the idea, at least entirely.
Here is another fun one. Next up, we have Carolina at the Rangers. Obviously, Carolina is very interesting with the arrival of Rantanen. The Rangers have been playing some better hockey as of late, namely their scoring and Igor stopping pucks. Their underlying process looks pretty decent too, though. Above average offensively, above average defensively. Just doesn't really matter because Carolina is so good in the expected goals realm. But Carolina is Carolina, and so you look on the right, and their goal index for the Rangers is actually the second best on the entire slate, behind only Winnipeg. So you could talk me into either side of this game too. So let's get to the Carolina side. Right now for Carolina, we have Rantanen, Aho, and Blake. That line is going to run you 19,000 on the dot. Mikko Rantanen's first game was pretty successful. He had 12.4 expected fantasy points. Actual was 8.8. Not sure if he had a point yet or not, or what that number consists of. But we also have Hall, Kotkaniemi, Svechnikov. Good bit cheaper, 12.5K. We have Mark Nuke, Stahl, Jarvis. Of course, that line's 12.5K as well. And then a fourth line that no one cares about. Where I think things get a little bit interesting is the idea that Taylor Hall on a Kotkaniemi Svechnikov line, 3,500. Clearly, this is just a bet on a player who might have talent. He just might be dust. So what are your thoughts in Carolina here?
I am interested, in this game in general. I just feel like it's really, really hard to stack Carolina and feel good about it. I just don't. I mean, 8,500 for Mikko Rantanen feels a little bit steep. It's hard to know if that's going to be a price that we wanted to be exploitative on or not. But yeah, I think I'm gonna end up not playing Carolina, but it's not because I don't think this is a really good spot. It's just because it still is kind of the same Carolina as before in DFS, where it's like, well, which of these lines do you want to bet on tonight? Okay, obviously the top line is the best projection. Okay, well, that's clearly the most expensive, and you're playing Jackson Blake or not, and it gets okay. Second line, completely not correlated on any power play unit whatsoever. So if they score on the power play, it's just not coming together. And Taylor Hall has been a black hole, but again, he's going to get back on track. And then the final, the third line, it's just like I get why you click the buttons, but you're not getting enough of a savings maybe to make this actually what like to fit in that Tampa because Jarvis is just too expensive and he should be. So I think I'm gonna end up just being a coward and not playing it. I think there's some bets to be made in this game and like definitely betting on Mikko Rantanen if like this role is going to continue to be fruitful for shot volume. It might be a good time to bet on him because he's always had that propensity. It's just Nathan MacKinnon shoots from legitimately everywhere all the time. And unfortunately, he's going to lose some of that opportunity for that shot share. But I don't know if there's anything here that in DFS I'm like, well, run to the bank. But I like the game and I like this matchup. Like, it's just hard.
I am interested to see that because I've always thought of Rantanen as a bit more of the Stamkos mold where he's not really going to get there through volume. But again, like you said, that's because Nathan MacKinnon does all the volume. So like, is that a factor of Rantanen, not being a shot first player? Or is it just because he didn't have the opportunity thanks to MacKinnon? So that'll be an interesting case study. And I think we'll learn pretty quickly what the trend is. I think, I have what he did in that one game. He had 7 attempts, so there you go. You might have said that even
7 and 5 on that. I believe was the numbers. It's worth keeping an eye on in this game. I don't have the totals or whatever, but like that's something I'm more interested in. Is like what did this trade do? Yeah,
every game on the slate is a 5.5. So there's that. I mean,
no Tampa. They're 6.5.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
Tampa.
Tampa.
Yeah, everything's 5.5. You're right though. So yeah, Tampa going to be the chalk, and everything else is going to be.
Did I just freeze?
No, I hear you.
Hold on, I can't hear you. What the fuck?
Okay, did your headphones die? Hello. Good content.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
I think I know what happened. My AirPods tried to connect to my iPad instead of the computer for whatever reason. So anyway, you were saying Tampa was a 6.5. Every other game though is a 5.5. So
yeah, that's what I said. Right.
That just doesn't feel right. I don't know. I guess it just doesn't feel right to me. So maybe I'll just be the donkey betting on a bunch of overs tomorrow. Maybe not. But I don't know. I like this game too. And on the Rangers side, I think there's a good argument to be made for them too. I mean, it's I guess what they were 19K I think a week ago. Now the top line is 17.9. Panarin 7,600. He's shooting a ton. Trocheck doing a ton, 5,700. Revenge spot, for you revenge spot seekers. Lafreniere, fine, lost his power play job, but whatever. Adam Fox had a huge game against the Avs, 5,700, a bit pricey. And then Zibanejad, Kreider, they're a little bit priced up, but again, I think my interest is in the top line here anyway. They'll control the matchups. I think they'll be able to get out Panarin and Trocheck against any other line but the stall line, which, is really your main concern going into Carolina. So, like, any interest in the Rangers here?
I mean, a little bit. It's going to be, again, not very much, like, that's not going to be owned at all, probably, at least comparatively to others. And it has come down in price. Kreider's come up, but everything else has come down. I could see why you just Trocheck, Panarin, Lafreniere. Like Lafreniere still saw 20 minutes of ice time. And you never know if that power play could change back in your favor. But I don't feel quite as strong on it as other things, but like it's in my mix. Like I still like Winnipeg and Montreal both sides more than the Rangers. So it's gonna be really hard for me to find a way to fit them in. Yeah. But I do think there's more like bettable pieces in this game than there are like, oh, this is the obvious like DFS. And maybe it's like I don't know what the bull case on the Rangers winning 100K is, right? It's just the goaltending completely imploding on itself in Carolina because
Never seen that
Carolina's
before.
probably going to. Yeah, I think that could happen, right? I'm not saying it couldn't happen. Of course, that is the outcome you're betting on, and whatever, right? Have at it. At the ownership, it's probably an okay bet to make. But if the Rangers get up 3-0 early, and Carolina just shoots 100 times, and the Rangers have 18 shots on goal or whatever, okay, yeah, I mean, you're still probably might not win the slate. I worry about like the actual upside in DFS from the Rangers, even though it's a fine spot. It's not even that good. Um, it's just this game to me kind of feels like fool's gold, and I think I'm just gonna fade it.
Okay. I guess my final takeaway from this is I just sort of want to be back on the scene with the Rangers sooner than the field. And like, again, Will Borgen had maybe the worst play of the season, just context considered, when he just threw a garbage pass across to Panarin while Lehkonen, I think, just left the box, or Kel McCarr or someone had just left the box and cost Rangers a point, if not two, given the way that game was trending and how they just tied it up. So that was a really egregious error by Borgen, and very funny a day after he signed some huge contract that, whatever. I don't get it. But like, since they've got Borgen, their team has been so much better. Maybe some of that's Borgen, or it's getting rid of Trouba or whatever. But they've gone 11 straight games, either just losing by a goal, most of those being overtime losses, or winning. Like, this team is not getting blown out night in, night out like they were for the majority of like November, even December. Like, they were just sort of, they were really, really bad. They've been very competitive. So I don't know. I think this pricing on the top line, the resurgence of Fox, like that the matchup, I mean, you can play a one-off Rantanen the other way, easily afford it. You can play, Jarvis or Svechnikov, who make perfect sense as one-offs given their line mates. And they're productive. So like, if you get a bonus and a goal from any of these one-off Carolina pieces, and you get a Rangers team that has the push or scores a bunch, like, I feel like there's a lot of paths to success here. And like you're saying, I don't think ownership's going to follow. So let's keep it going though. We have another similarly interesting spot with the Avs heading into Long Island. The Islanders lost Ryan Pulock for what seems like another extended absence. The Islanders already without Noah Dobson. We have no confirmation. I suspect Noah Dobson's done for the year. So the Islanders went out and they signed Tony DeAngelo. They went out and they traded for Scott Perunovich. I don't think that's what a hockey team does when Noah Dobson's going to be back in, late February. So, yeah, I think Dobson's season's done. I don't think the Pulock outlook's good either.
Hate to see that.
But, the only thing I have to say is that this Colorado team is actually bad because McKinnon's not actually good. Kind of disingenuous, but also their metrics have been total garbage for a decent while offensively. And they're just getting by on some Cale Makar magic. And McKinnon, he's been very good in stretches. But, they're not really controlling play. They're introducing Marty Necas into the lineup. DJ, what do you make of Colorado Avalanche in this spot?
Marty Necas. I think if you're playing McKinnon and you're not clicking on Marty Necas, you've made an error in your judgment, and you should reevaluate what you've done. The Marty Necas problem in Carolina, which again was not a problem this year, and before they traded him, of course he cooled off, but he was on like a 190 point pace for a little while, and that just wasn't going to last. But like, the skill has always been there. Yep. It's as if they were trying to mold him into something he wasn't a little bit at times. It felt like to me. I'm not in the Robert Moore is a great coach, but like, I think he definitely had defensive lapses as well on the other side, and they put him with players and try to put him in positions to get better at that. And it kind of worked, but it may have been a hindrance on his offense. Well, I'd say wheels up. He's playing on the McKinnon line. That line exists to score goals, and to control the puck. So like, who cares about any of that anymore? I think he's a great value on this slate. And that leads me in the direction of, is McKinnon Necas against an Islanders team that will be rolling out DeAngelo, Mayfield, George, and Romanov and Pelech are fine, right? But like, multiple defensemen that are, just frankly, were in the NHL a week ago. And I'm not saying that they're not I'm not even going to get into it, how, like, where they deserve to be in the league or what they are. Like, they're simply not valuable enough to be in those roles, or weren't at the time. So, like, D'Angelo played 25 minutes last game. George played 17 minutes. And of course, Bullock got hurt early. I believe it was, like, really early, which
Yes,
didn't help
first shift.
the cause
Yep.
there. But that just means someone else is going to get called up that also wasn't in the NHL last week.
Yeah.
Colorado makes a ton of sense for multiple reasons. And you pulled up a bunch of stuff. So why don't you?
Yeah, the start for Nachos, obviously very good. He played 25 minutes in that first game against Boston. Now, the reason he played 25 minutes, well, yeah, they lost, right? Let me just check that. They lost 3-1. Okay. So that obviously was a good reason. Against the Rangers, they were leading, so he played 20 minutes. The coach after the game basically said they want to spread their minutes out more, which, he says and then never does. But in 2 games, Martin Necas has 17 shot attempts. I was sort of mentioning off the top, like, their power play with Makar, McKinnon. It's reminding me a ton of the McDavid Draisaitl thing, at least early on, where, like, they're both moving, McKinnon and Necas, and basically whoever winds up in that one-timer spot, it's usually going to be, McKinnon up high and Necas down low. But, like, if they rotate, Kale McCarr will feed either one of them. I see HockeyViz only credits him for 1 post hit. I'm fairly certain I saw Necas hit 3 posts in the Rangers and Bruins games. So maybe there was, like, a goalie deflection off the post or something that, just missed it and got credited as a save. But he's been pretty unlucky, I think, not to giga smash these first 2 games. So I'm really having a hard time saying, like, the Colorado as a team does not look good, but maybe that's just the entire team besides McKinnon, definitely sucks offensively, and that when Cale Makar is on the ice, it's a different team. That totally could be the case. So I'll dive in a little bit more here, but given the context of the Islanders, I really like the top line. And, Jonathan Drouin, 5K, whatever. If he could hit, he could not hit. It has very little to do with whether Necas or McKinnon hit their ceilings. But go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, my question to you, I guess, is, like, are you considering just one-off Necas because the price is so good that it's like he should be? But, like, again, if he does get to that point, as in like, you're saying, like, he's almost smashed. He's almost, well, doesn't that mean he's coming along for the ride with probably McKinnon?
Yeah, I think that's the case. Like, if Necas gets 20, like, sure, maybe McKinnon doesn't get there, but really, if Necas gets 30 or whatever, that you're like, there's just no way McKinnon's not at least matching the best of Connor, Pasta, Kucherov. Like, I think there's enough one-off options that I like better than Necas for a similar salary that, like, don't have the very clear symmetry with, like, a very chalky Nathan McKinnon. Because 9,500 McKinnon is going to project incredibly well. So, like, yeah, I don't think I'm playing Necas as a one-off, but I'm certainly not playing McKinnon as a one-off either. Like, the way that I think you're right that, like, Necas is certainly a value in a stack. But yeah,
I know.
Part
of me just feels like I know it's not the same price, obviously, but I'm like, I'm gonna click on Scheifele, Connor, Velarde. Almost the same price as McKinnon, Necas, Drouin.
Like, oh boy, what? Wookie got it. The Devon Tays revenge. This is one of those spots though where I think Devon Tays is going to show up and be like, "Hey, I know you need a defenseman. You got me some giga huge contract because I get to play next to Cale fucking Makar, and I make $1 billion to do so." Like, I think he's going to just be like, take a goal here, Barzal. Here's a puck, like, whatever. We don't need the win, so I don't know. Just a funny little bit of revenge there. Thank you, Chris. Good night, buddy. All right. Lee Horvat, Barzal for the Islanders, Duclair, Nelson, Palmieri, Holmstrom, Pajot, Sazika, Siplikov, McLean, and Gatcomb. Never figured out who this Mark Gatcomb guy. Don't plan on figuring out anytime soon. Defensively, though, is, like you mentioned, where things start to get very funny. Adam Pelech, Scott Mayfield, Alexander Romanov, Tony DeAngelo, Isaiah George, Dennis Cholowski. No word on whether Scott Perunovich will draw in, though if he does, I imagine it'll be for Cholowski here. Tony D was fine his first game. He's 3,500, power play 1. That first unit played the entirety of all 3 power plays they had. I don't know how intentional that was or what, but that usually means they're getting good zone time. I'll admit I did not watch much of that game. But yeah, I'm at least willing to consider the idea of Tony DeAngelo, given, we know that he's an excellent, excellent fantasy player when given minutes. And look at this blue line. He's going to be given minutes. So,
it has to.
I don't know.
Same price as, but basically the same price as Hudson and Lorai, and he's just not going to get their ownership, I don't think. Makes sense at home against Colorado, but I think he has
Tony DeAngelo.
he's not been great defensively. He makes mistakes defensively, but you're not playing him for that, and you're playing him because he could see 20 plus minutes in the top power play role, and has had a propensity to shoot his entire career. So there's no issue with that play at all, even as a one-off.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's really hard for me to give actual advice on playing the Islanders. They've been fine. That top line is pretty interesting, but I'm just not going to it on the slate. No one can make me. I think Colorado's going to be hard for me to overlook, but I don't know. Maybe I end up being brave. We'll see.
All right, we're going to figure out what this Casey Cizikas 9 expected fantasy points last 10 games is. I'm very scared of what I might find because that is an incredible mark
ever.
I can't spell Casey Cizikas.
Okay. I really don't even know because he had
3.8 attempts, 1 primary assist. Is it just the 2.3 expected goals? Doesn't feel like enough. 9 blocks? Maybe that's it.
Yeah, blocks will help.
I don't think you're playing him, but he's gonna show up on my stupid little sheet in the top right corner as a value, and it's gonna be like, what the hell? So just remember that. I don't know what he's doing. Doesn't look all that impressive, but for whatever reason, he's there and getting third line minutes again for whatever reason. All right, next game.
Yep, Washington at the Flames. Another shocking 5.5. Another game where I pull it up. I'm trying to look through a couple things, and I'm like, wait, why? Is everyone so cheap? Matt Coronado, 3,100 now. Okay, Backlund, 3,200. Okay, this game feels like there's fantasy goodness that could get maybe owned just because of just how important it might, I'm not important, how obvious the Tampa plays are.
Yeah.
And then McKinnon on the other, and so now it becomes kind of we got to do something here. And then they see Matt Coronado 3,100, and they're like, I know that's a good play. And the problem is that they're right. It is a really good play. And that's before we even get to other pieces that are super cheap in this game that seem like they could be fine plays. So this game, while again, of course, it's a very low total, technically, I believe the lowest per Vegas at, only the over being a -112, but we're talking, fractions off each other and not by much. Washington, not a huge favorite here, -148 on the road. So Washington, I think it's a bit more obvious what to do. I think there's options on the other side, but let's just, I guess, mention Washington because I do think it is sneaky to play them because people just inherently won't. Ovi, Strome, and Wilson is just, it's a great stack. And I just don't think that people are going to go to it. So I'm really interested in it. I'm wondering if I could fit that in with a McKinnon, Natros. Of course, Kel McCarr, I guess you're not making that cut, which does suck, but I am tentatively pretty interested in both sides of this game for very different reasons. I think Washington is really good leverage off of other stacks that are a little bit more expensive, and then the Flames offer pretty good value. So nothing else really on the Washington side, but I'll let you have the floor.
No, we're kind of guessing on their lines. They lost their most recent game to Vancouver, and in that game they went Ovi, Strome, Wilson. basically to close it. So like I don't know if that sticks or not. McMichael, Dubois, Protas, and then the bottom 6. I don't think anyone's played in DFS, and I don't think anyone will start doing so anytime soon. Jake Chikrin still looks like a pretty decent play. John Carlson's getting into very, very interesting territory at just 5K. He's been very bad over the last stretch. He's not shooting a ton, but on the year, he still looks okay. Like his rates are totally fine, like on the year. And obviously, we know that he's a long-term, very productive player from a fantasy standpoint. So 5,000 against a Calgary team that like all year long have been targeting because of their Corsi pace in their games isn't really showing much in the rainbow chart at the current moment. But like again, it's there over the long term. I think you can make an argument that John Carlson's a good bounce back candidate. We'll see if I need to get there. We've mentioned a bunch of cheap D already that like maybe I just don't wind up spending up. But I imagine Chikrin will be a good bit more owned than Carlson, and I don't think that's totally predictive of what's going to happen. So I don't know, probably not going here, but OV 7,300, it's a little interesting. The OV Carlson throwback stack, I guess, if you will. But let's get to the Calgary side again, because I mean, you mentioned Coronado back and Coleman. I think I got to throw you the floor though for Igor Sharangovich, because I mean, this was your guy, and like he did absolutely nothing for you, night in, night out. He's not producing a ton as of late, right up with the rest of his teammates, about 8 fantasy points per game. But you peek under the hood for 2,800, he's top power play and has 11 expected fantasy points over the last 10. So like, are you seeing anything out of Sharangovich? Do you see him in play as a one-off, as a mini stack? Like, how are you thinking of Sharangovich here? In addition,
the injury to start the year, and you hear about this all the time with players that I guess maybe aren't at that elite level. Like they really can hamper a player, and maybe he came back a little too soon or whatever. Who really knows for sure? But like, it does feel like he's kind of getting back to what we'd like to see from him. Last game was with Kuzmenko and Pospisil, which I think, that's not going to last, right? No. I think part of the problem is these 5-on-5 line mates are not great. They do not add a ton of value to what he can do, and you kind of are betting on the power play, but I do think he is good enough to make up for some of that. There hopefully could be softer matchups down the lineup. Like we said, Washington bottom 6 doesn't really intimidate us too much. Maybe they're fine defensively or whatever, but like they're not unbelievable. So I could see it. Like I could see that, him, Coronado as just really easy one-off pieces. I just don't like, I just wish there was just a little bit of a better role. Like I really, really wish they would put him with a Kadri, or put him just really anywhere other than with Rory Kearns and Andrei Kuzmenko. But what are you going to do? I mean, beggars can't be choosers, I suppose, when it comes to 2,800 power play one Sharangovich, who we saw last year score 30 goals. Yep. It's like, it's still a fine. Like, it's obviously a good play still. Like, no red flags on my end. But, yeah.
Yeah. One other thing before we move on. I know we have a pretty interesting cross-section of, fantasy and hockey and whatnot. I imagine there are some gamers in here, and I don't know a ton about these games. So like, I'm definitely a little bit uninformed in this matter, but apparently the Caps PA guy, like, the guy in the arena, one, he's in critical condition because a medical emergency or whatever. But he has like this GoFundMe that's going around, and apparently he's like really famous for his work in the Elder Scrolls series. He's done voice acting in like Skyrim and stuff too. So I don't know if maybe we have people in here who are like super into those games, and they want to look up Wes Johnson and whatever happened there. But there's a GoFundMe going out, and if you're one of those gamer types that like really cares about those games, that community seems like they're coming together in a huge way to support him. And again, I don't know. I don't know anything about these games, but maybe that holds dear to some of you out there. Given I know those games, what they are, but yeah. So just a really interesting cross section, and obviously a terrible way to learn that, given he's apparently fighting for his life. But
I did see that today, so yeah, definitely good shout out there. That was, And I saw the same thing. I saw it was like I think it was like a gamer in the hockey space like tweeted something about like how the gamers were coming together for this guy. I was like, what the heck? And I looked into that too. So yeah, really good shout out there. But yeah, no, but I guess as far as this one game is concerned, I do not think it's going to see a lot of like people aren't going to be playing it a lot. And I think even the last note on this game that I had is just like Logan Thompson is from Calgary. He's been the best goalie probably in the league over the past month plus. And on the other side, it should be Dustin Wolf, who's been, that one of the better young
second
goalies
best
in the
goalie.
league. And like, it's just like people are just absolutely unequivocally not going to click on this game because of goaltending. And I hate to say it, but I think I might end up here.
Giga Donkey Chalk Dustin Wolf leverage on Logan Thompson, or maybe the other way around. Logan Thompson leverage on Giga Donkey Chalk Dustin Wolf, maybe the 100 price tag on Wolf.
I know.
So
I honestly think like I'm convincing myself that I'm going to end up with Ovi, Tom Wilson, and Strome. Like I really
another thing. I mean, while we're really diving deep, Kevin Ball for Calgary. I'm not sure if he'll be in or out. If he's out, he's been a staple in their top 4 all season. He missed one game. They gave up 5 to Winnipeg. So, maybe correlation, maybe it was just luck. I don't know. But maybe another reason to look deeper at Washington stuff if Kevin Ball is confirmed to miss on Tuesday. So let's 2 more games. Dallas, Vegas next up. We have a Vegas team that just beat the piss out of Florida. They didn't score a ton, but they pretty much controlled that game start to finish. Dallas looks fine. I don't know. Game doesn't look too inspiring, but when 2 really good teams face off, I think it's always worth a second look. And I believe, didn't these 2 teams just play?
It sounds like a matchup I've seen 100,000 times. So,
they played on Thursday. So we just talked about them.
I feel like, again, like it's always deja vu when we get to these slates, and I'm just like, I just watched this game and I pull it up and it's like, oh, because I did just watch this game. That's right. It kind of feels like it, as Dallas gets healthier and you start to see like 3 lines of NHL players instead of 2, and like a good top pair in the best top pair they have in Miro and Harley. It's like, I guess get a little bit more like coming off the let's actually stack against this Dallas team, who I believe to start the year was my favorite to win the Stanley Cup. I think Vegas is equally very good, but a little bit more one-dimensional. And the other problem with Vegas is they just have like players that play a role that can completely disappear in the wrong script. So I just think I'm probably going to end up fading this game. It's not a great total. Some of the pieces have come down in price, like Eichel at 8,100, kind of jumped off the page to me. I was like, man, he's actually been pretty good. Like, I know the results haven't followed immensely, but like, he has 3 goals in the past 2 games, and it kind of feels like, again, just doesn't really matter. He's just come down a full 1,000 in a week, not even 5 days. Come out full 1,000 in price. I get why you like. If anything, I'm jumping on Vegas still, even though I don't. And in reality, I'm probably not going to do it, but like, the prices are good. I just think I like other things better, but I think most people will fall in the same bucket, and Eichel will end up being like 8%, maybe less.
I was going to click over to Vegas thinking you were going to transition back to Dallas any second, but before we get to Vegas on my end, I'll just say that on the Dallas front, Rupe Hintz is lurking. I mean, he could very well jump onto the top line anytime, any game. I think he's currently slotted with Sam Steele and Stankoven, but I think he'll be top power play. Actually, can we check that versus last game? What was it last game? Because I know when we did the podcast, we were like, oh, they flipped, halfway through or whatever. So actually, it does look like Hintz was on the second unit last game. So maybe Duchesne Ben is the Duchesne, Ben, Johnston, Robertson, and Miro top power play. But just the price on Hintz is 4,400. So if he does wind up on that top line, it's pretty obvious that he and Robertson could be back to being a good stack. And even though Robertson's price has increased, the pairing has remained about the same price because Hintz just keeps getting cheaper. So there's always upside there. Speaking of upside, speaking of upside, Thomas Harley, but he's the same price as Miro. So like, I don't know. Yeah, I think he's slightly better, but the minutes just aren't there. So like, if Miro's getting 27 to Harley's 24 minutes, like, would you rather just play Miro? Maybe. But another situation where you could just stack those guys if they're paired and just say, I don't know what forwards are going to hit, but I do know if they hit, it's pretty likely that at least one of these guys is going to smash, and the other guy is probably going to be close to a bonus or might smash too, just for points. So, so two really good defensive players or defensemen offensively. And on the Vegas side, I think Eichel's back. He's shooting a ton. You mentioned the goal scoring is there. He's deferred a lot to begin the year, but Barbashev and Stone are just not shooting, and that makes sense given their profiles. So like Jack's the playmaker and the shooter on that line. Very interesting price tag. Hurdle has been incredible. Another situation where the expecteds perfectly match the actuals. I want to say I called out that sort of situation a week or two ago. I got to go back and see how that fared because, maybe that's the key. Maybe that's where you get hat tricks from. I don't know. Could be. But just a little curious thing, 15.33 expecteds and 15.33 actuals for you audio listeners on Hurdle. Like very, very good stuff. And Dorofeev is also smashing with his newfound power play one job. We know this is sort of player he is. So as long as he keeps that, he's going to be the preferred option over Victor Olofsson. Also on that second line, but a good bit less productive. Yep. So anything else to add on Vegas?
No, we're starting to get towards Victor Olofsson goal watch, 9 away from the 20 mark. That was one of my bigger offseason bets. So other than that, not a lot, just okay. I think it's Eichel or nothing for me, but I understand clicking on Vegas, Dorofeev and Hurdle, honestly, it's probably fine, but no. Let's go and get to the final game and we could top stack guarantee goals and get out of here. Anaheim at Seattle is next. Seattle's up 2-1 after the first intermission as of recording. So there's that. Every single slate, I get more angry about the Ducks than I was before. Once again, they're probably not going to have Owen. What?
No reason to be sad, DJ, when Mason McTavish is here to rescue all of us.
He is doing the Lord's work, and that is making things happen for the Anaheim Ducks. Really, that does feel like one that we kind of were in on, but maybe not quite loud enough. I don't know. Again, like, am I going to play it? Probably not. Like, I think if 4,300 after his explosion, second NHL star of the week, and people, guaranteed going to start looking at him again after he went up 1,000 in price. The only player to go up 1,000 in price on this entire slate from a week ago. It's like, is this a time to buy in him? Still really on the third line. I know the top power play, but I just don't think I'm going to do it against the Seattle team on a back-to-back. I think people are going to maybe factor that in a little bit, but like the sports books are saying that Anaheim's not going to score, and I tend to agree with them. Like, this team is really not all that good. Their coach is a complete and total another donkey. I think I'm going to end up fading the Ducks, and like a spoiler alert, probably going to fade the Kraken too. And if other people want to try to, this is where I'm going to get unique, you can have at it. Like, I'm going to play the Capitals and other teams that I think are like legitimately good. I'm going to win the slate instead of lose, like people that play the freaking Ducks.
What if I told you that Mason McTavish is still one of the best prospects in the NHL? Hands down, one of the best prospects. He came in his rookie year. He took about 34% of the Ducks power play shots his rookie year, followed it up his second year, and then last year just went down the toilet for some reason. Don't know why. I don't remember last year. Alcohol to thank for that. And he started out this year in the wilderness, not doing much of anything, real tough. But now he's back on the power play one and he's scoring goals. And you know what he does in that power play one? He soaks up all of the shots. He's not being used in that dumbass net front role that they put him in because Cronin's a donkey. They figured out, hey, why don't we move Frank Vetrano away from the spot where he can't score because he's not a scorer, except for last year where he shot 1,000,000,000%. Why don't we give the guy who can score goals the one-timer spot? And Mason McTavish said, coach, I got you. And went out and scored goals in back-to-back games in that role. I don't know. Just me. Seems like we should be playing that guy against the Seattle team. It's on a back-to-back with travel. So, like, I don't know. I think that that's a really interesting one. I do wonder about ownership here. I honestly think Calgary's going to get more ownership than Anaheim, which, like, I don't know, could be right, could not be. But 4,300 for McTavish is really interesting. It's just a player that I absolutely adore from a profile standpoint. Just like I think his fantasy profile is through the roof. He gets to the net at 5-on-5. He takes those one-timers on the power play. Honestly, you watch him on the power play, score some goals, and you're like, hey, that's Leon Draisaitl. Like, he just has that sort of release with the one-timer. Like, he might not score from distance like a Cutter kid, but we don't talk about Cutter here. You know, just it's a safe space.
I forgot about him. Yeah, he's gone.
But he scores those, like,
can't hurt me.
Those goals where you're like, how did he just score from that angle? So, like, I don't know. I'm really intrigued by McTavish here. The price is going up, but I think that keeps ownership down. Just don't play the Vetrano from Terry line. Like, yes, they're 15K. Yes, they could get there. But, like, I think you could just pay 17K for an actual good line. And DJ?
Yeah, right.
DJ, I think it might be time for me to just play Jackson Lacombe. I've been thinking.
Well, no one's.
The guy has 51 shots plus blocks in his last 10 games. Like, what? Like, who am I if not someone who looks at the game logs and says, give me the floor, donkeys? And it just so happens that this guy is on the power play one, feeding one-timers to Mason McTavish. Can he make a pass? I don't think so. But if he accidentally does, then he gets an assist too to go with his 5 shots plus blocks. So another interesting deep play, I think, in Jackson Lacombe. I'm finally in. So congratulations in advance to the Faders for finally getting it right.
Yeah, that will very likely be me. I get it. I definitely get the Mason McTavish thing. Like, he's shooting on the power play and all that nonsense. You know, I know. And Seattle's terrible. Oh wow,
Seattle terrible. Shocking. Yes. Okay. Like, they make Anaheim look good.
Yes, Seattle's very bad. Dude, I'm telling you right now, though, if you actually think with your brain that people are going to click on the team going against Logan Thompson instead of clicking on the Anaheim Ducks against the back-to-back Kraken team, I feel like you have rocks in your head. But then again, I guess goalies don't matter to everybody else as well as us. And also, has Seattle really been that bad? You know?
Well, when they're
winning right now,
Oilers, yeah, we will all be hooting and hollering at the stupid Oilers because they're bad.
I mean, we said this over. I remember how long it's been since I feel like we're like, if Manny Beniers actually playing good, the answer was yes. The problem is he still hasn't like broke a slate or even been all that necessary to have, and now he's 5,100. Like, another guy that just decided, oh yeah, the guy that really hasn't done anything of he's going up 1,100 in price from last game. Oh, is he doing anything magnificent? Not really. Is his ceiling above 15? No. Oh, okay, sure. That like, I do not know what the pricing people at DraftKings were doing, sleeping at the wheel, just randomly taking thousands from this guy and giving it to that guy. Jaden Schwartz is 5,200. Like, these prices are laughably bad for Seattle. Is really almost the reason why I want to play them is because they're so bad that just absolutely no one could possibly click on them, and they're going to be 0% owned. I'm not going to click on them. It's almost interesting how bad they are.
Is Wookie saying that the mom's trip for Seattle was to Edmonton in January? That's
seems like a bad trip.
I'm very confused.
It's probably cold.
Also, the mom just wanted to go see Corey Perry.
Oh my God! Yes.
God, I got mad in the Discord at idiots for repeating that the other day. So my apologies to those idiots, but you're still idiots.
I still wonder like what happened there, but I guess we'll never know, and that's
We
fine.
we know what it was. It had to do with Chris Chelios. I look him up in the look Chelios up in the Discord, and I wrote about it in there. That's a
Oh,
pretty
then
strong account of what transpired.
perfect. Okay. Well, anyways, more so to the game at hand. Um, is Jared McCammon doing
Let's
things? Because he's
no,
5,900.
yeah.
No, good.
Shane
Let's
Wright at
praise.
4K. Cool. Yeah.
It's just,
Okay.
I do not understand what happened on this slate that made them like it truly just is just like, oh, Anaheim's terrible. Everyone gets
Yeah.
priced up. Oh, Washington's really good. Everyone gets priced down. And it's like there's no thought behind this. I really was just so confused. But yeah, not yeah, Seattle truly is a
All right.
terrible, terrible play. And everyone's gonna know it, but that's fine. So my DJ recap is I'm a donkey and I'm probably gonna play Washington. And I'm also looking to play Colorado and or maybe I might just stack Winnipeg, Montreal. But that's my crack at this whole thing.
Yeah.
But Matt, let me let you take your first stack if you're ready.
All right. Boy, I was not prepared for this. I'm gonna go Rangers 1. Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere.
Okay, well, I know what not to play tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, I just basically said it, but I honestly think I've come full circle on Dylan Strome, Alex Ovechkin, and Tom Wilson. If that is the line that goes out tomorrow, we're going to get fully correlated power play one. Could you convince me to play either defenseman on Washington? Absolutely. I think my preference is still going to be Chikrin, but I'm not positive on that. I might look into a couple things first, like who played more 5-on-5 minutes with Ovi when this has been together. We haven't seen a ton of this yet, but we'll just stick with the 3-man for now.
Okay. I'm going to go back to the beginning of the slate that we talked about. I'm going to go build around Lane Hudson with Patrick Laine, Kirby Dach. It's a pretty cheap stack, going to cost you 12.8K. Gets you a dynamic goal scorer in Laine, his power play quarterback in Hudson, and a center at 5-on-5, 2,700 in Kirby Dach, who also gets power play time. I think that Montreal is in a better spot than they were before the Adam Lowry injury in Winnipeg. So, like, I don't know. It's not a great spot, but I don't think this slate is full of great spots. Why not get some exposure to a one-shot shooter and one-shot scorer in Patrick Laine?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I could definitely see going, I think it's affordable to stack both lines in that game in some capacity. I'm going to really try to make McKinnon and Nachos work with Washington 1. You could obviously play, without playing Washington 1, you could play Makar. That's the best play for this stack. You're going to need to be punting from there for sure. But so I'm going to say Nachos and McKinnon. And yeah, I'll say Makar. But obviously, in the 2 stacks I've built, it's just impossible to make that fit.
Okay. Guaranteed goals.
Yeah, I know. The only problem with taking that stack is I really wanted to say Marty Nachos for a guaranteed goal, but I just did that to myself. Did I not? Do you have one first? I want to write these down so I bet them tomorrow.
Oh boy. Okay. I'm gonna go Rasmus Dahlin. He's scoring a goal, DJ.
That is an unbelievably unexpected take.
Rasmus Dahlin is so
okay.
good. He's the only reason the Sabres are somewhat relevant. And
in what world are they somewhat relevant? I want you to tell me this world you're living in, this fantasy land of somewhat relevant Buffalo.
He's the only reason they ever score any goals ever, and he has not scored in forever. And he's taking 1 billion shots, and he's still really, really good at hockey. He's got like a top, what I was looking at earlier. He has like a top 20 expected goals for while on the ice. He's on the Buffalo Sabres. Like no one on the team is even close to him, and it's just like he's on the ice, and it's like, hey, we're good now. Like I don't know. Like, it's gonna happen, and I think it's gonna come in in bushels for Dahlin, because like there's no reason he's not putting up Cale Makar, like maybe not quite Cale Makar. Cale Makar has 18 goals on the year. Dahlin has 6. Like, there's not that big a difference between those two players at the top end of defense.
Okay. I have both of mine. It is Kyle Connor and Igor Sharangovich.
Okay.
I think Sharangovich is. I think he's like, if you're going to bet him tomorrow, like for example, if you're sitting here right now, like, oh, Igor for a point, like don't do that. Like he's either scoring or he's not getting a point. Like, I mean, like I guess the power play he might touch the.
You don't believe in. Yeah, you don't believe in Rory Kennens to put the biscuit in the basket.
Yeah, like he is going to shoot on the power play and score a goal, or just bet him for a power play point. Like I mean, but like I think he's like he actually, like you look at these numbers, like his expected goals and stuff, like he is producing, like he is shooting like 5.2 attempts in the last 10 games. It's nothing to completely look away from. Like he's doing all the stuff you'd want to do in DFS, but like in reality, I think he's more of a goal bet at like 4-1 or 3.5-1 or whatever he's going to be tomorrow. So yeah.
Okay. Well, DJ Rasmus Dahlin was 6,700 DraftKings dollars. You want to know who is $4,300 and is playing for Coach Greg Cronin? It's Mason McTavish. Mason McTavish is continuing this run. The power play is going to continue to strike. Mason McTavish gets it done for us. Guaranteed goal, 4,300.
This is really a throwbacks to last year of like us continuously betting McTavish and Sharangovich, and like Sharangovich working and McTavish never scoring. But it'll be fun. It'll be a fun time. Yeah, just looking at a build right now, you can afford.
Your hat is so funny, DJ.
If you're watching, yeah, this is green and the green screen behind me. I don't think. Let me actually just. Can I turn that off? I don't even know if it'll work. Did that work? Yeah. If I turn off the green screen, it actually just works. If I say I don't have a green screen, I mean, it looks weird if I do anything, but it says I have a. I know. It's World Cup of Hockey. Or what the heck's it called? The Frozen Frenzy face off. Frozen nations. The nations of they're cold. The cold nations. 4 of them. There's 4. And they're gonna face off.
Oh my god, what a stupid!
Go USA!
All right. God, I cannot wait to watch Drew Doughty make his return to action in fucking Boston, playing for Team Canada, getting his just. Oh my god, what a joke! All right, I think that'll do it.
USA.
Yes, DJ will go.
Also, there was a joke I really wanted to make at one point, and I had to bite my tongue because you were in the middle of something. But at one point, you said Carolina got their finisher, and I was gonna say instead of their Czechian, and I wanted to know if you found this joke. Yeah, checker, right? Yeah, it might have been funnier. I think we had a joke here. We just need to combine our efforts because they got a Finn, and they traded a guy from Czechia, right? I'm not. Nachos is from this Czech.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, he won. He won the pasta at the.
Right. Yeah, I know. I had this joke, and I just remembered it right now, and I really wanted to make it, but you were like really on a roll, and then I forgot about it because whatever you said was probably something about shooting, and I was like gambling, and then I got distracted. Moved on to the next thing. So I did want that joke to be made before the podcast ended. Is that Carolina got their finisher and traded their checker? That was perfect. That's perfect. No notes on this joke.
Well, thank you
ESPN
for making sure you
has just called me to write more article titles for them in the future.
Yes. Thank you for making sure you got that one in there. The people we're desperate for more DJ content than the hour and 29 minutes we just gave them. So,
yes. Right.
Thank you, Boomer, for hanging out with us. I hope you're behaving in the Stochastic Discord. And
I hope you're not.
Yeah, that is true. Fuck Cliffy and Josh. Give him hell. Give him hell, Boomer. All right. Yeah, thank you all for hanging out with us. Again, if you are listening, make sure you get in the lobby. If you have these tickets, get them in ASAP because the contest is probably going to fill really early. If you're in the 360, who knows about the rest of the slate? Honestly, don't know what the rest of the slate looks like, but make sure you're reserving your entries because I think they might have undersized this one. So we'll see. But anyway,
almost
again, thanks
oh
for
my
hanging out
god,
with
it's
us.
almost up to 578 of 935. It is 10:40 p.m. Eastern time the night before. Okay.
Not great. Anyway, I'm on Twitter at Fake Moods. DJ's at DJ_Milton94. My newsletter, moods.beehive.com. I wrote up the Friday slate again this week. I don't think I did very well on Friday, but I don't know. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Who is to say? But you will be able to find a recap of the 360 on Wednesday. So if you're interested in the high stakes stuff and you're not playing, or if you are playing, you can read a bit there about my process and how I saw the slate and how ultimately I played and how the results fared. It's looking like I'll have 10 tickets. I don't think my Monday's going very well. So I think 10 tickets for action there. So we'll see. We'll see what I can do with those. But best of luck to all of you out there chasing the 100K top prize as well. So with all that said, from Doug, from DJ, from myself, have a good Spin-O-Rama, everybody, and we will see ya.